goal from the 9. Carr throws into traffic. Intercepted. The Bengals have the ball. They are running it back. Sam Hubbard.
Stanford Jennings is going to go all the way. When it comes down, the Bengals are champions.
Now the Bengals Super Bowl chances rest on his right foot. The kick is up. It is good.
Today, Bengal fans, here we gather, talking football back for year 5. We're covering all things Food Day Nation. We're glad you joined us here tonight. Special guests, past and present players. You never know who you might see. One thing that's for sure, it's all things Bengals. And it all goes back to charity. We at Talking Football want to thank you for joining us for the show tonight. By the fans, for the fans, until the very end. It's Talking Football with Bengal Jim and friends. It's Talking Football with Bengal Jim and friends.
What's up, everybody? You can't go 14-3 until you get that first dub, and we got the first dub in Carolina this weekend, guys. So thanks for being with us. A lot of stuff to get to. We've got Grayson Hodges with us tonight. We've had him on before. Really good stuff. A lot of good insight. We'll break down the Charlotte game. We'll talk about the Ratbirds game here in a little bit. We'll briefly hit on the Charlotte tailgate and then the meet and greet the night before, and we're going to talk about things going on this Sunday. But what's going on, guys? James, where do you want to start, buddy?
Fun time in Charlotte. Thank you to everyone that came out, sold out tailgate, for an 0-3 team. Just Bengals fans from not only Cincinnati and the Midwest making the trip down, but Southeast, all over the world, literally, international tailgate. So thank you so much for everybody that kicked in for that. Kick with CMA, who brought our traveling circus down. Mark, who brought the van down. You can see the pictures. It was an empty lot about 6:30 that morning, and quickly filled it in. And just, man, what a fun time! Gorgeous weather. Chris Mack there, former Xavier Louisville coach, and got off the schneid. Carolina is officially our slump buster, thanks to the Panthers, and we're in the positive left-hand column now, so it's time to continue. Tony, what's your thoughts on Sunday's pregame festivities?
It was over 1,500 people were there, all black and orange. There's a couple blues in the crowd, but what a great time. People respected the Carolina fans as well that came and joined us. But it was definitely a big party there in Charlotte, and we absolutely enjoyed it. So it was a lot of fun.
A big shout out to Megan. I think we had her on the show a couple weeks ago, president of the local fan club. She helped us organize the Saturday pre-party at Protagonist, which was a lot of fun. Got to watch some college football there on Saturday. And then she's a school teacher by trade. We all have these day jobs that fund this football fun that we have on Sundays. She actually had her class do a little bake sale. $1,300? Tony, that her class raised for charity. So as with anything we do, lots of money being given to charity because of you, the fans, showing up. So it was great seeing everybody. And thank you so much to Megan and everybody at Protagonist. Craig, as always, arranged the beer. The Mark's van was there with all sorts of necessities for the tailgate. And you guys sold out a food truck. One of the food trucks, the other one barely had anything left. So went through a lot of beer, went through a lot of seltzers, went through a lot of waters, went through a lot of chicken and tacos too. So a lot of fun.
It was good. Hey, real quick, I want to thank a couple people myself. I want to thank National Gypsum. Their headquarters is in Charlotte there. They hosted Tony and I for a period of time that first half in their suite. I want to say thank you to those guys. They were amazing. They just happened to catch us walking in the stadium and and pulled us in there for a little bit. So it was very, very cool of them to be able to do that. I also want to say I have to give a shout out, if I can find a quick picture here. Good friends of mine, Scott and Danette Miller, put Trish and I up in their home for a period of time this weekend in Charlotte, and we had a great time. Beautiful weather. I know we'll talk a little bit all the stuff going on in and around Charlotte, down in Nashville, all the crazy stuff going on. But we appreciate everybody making their way down there. It was unbelievable how many people made it down to Charlotte. A lot of orange and black in the stadium, guys. So let's go ahead and get it going. Tom, I think actually, Tony, let's go ahead and kick off the charity stuff here real quick, and then we'll go right to Grayson after that.
All right, cool, awesome. One more thing just before the stadium, you talked about how they were full of black and orange. It was great when T got his catch and the whole stadium just erupted and you heard T. So, we definitely traveled really well. So that was another note I wanted to make real quick. But as for our charity efforts, again, we have blown it away. The tailgate, 1,500 fans plus, pushed us over 100K for the year, for a new total of $111,169 in its only week 4. So, we set a goal of 175K this year, and we're just under 39K of reaching that, like I said, in the 4th week. So thank you for everyone who supports us and contributes to the charities. I also want to do a shout out to Duke Energy, who also helped with them efforts and gave $1,000 to the Holy Angels Association there that we were working with. So I appreciate their contribution as well. And then just so you guys also know, we also were able to give funds to, we are all affected by the hurricane Helene that came up through here in Florida and Carolinas, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana. So we were able to also provide some funds to that hurricane relief effort too. So overall, it was a great time. The next week, just want to hit on the Ravens tailgate there in Lot E. Our charity that we will be hosting is Kelly Youth Services, which is Joe Kelly's organization. So looking forward to helping him out and earning some funds for him. And then I also just want to remind you all about our first duck race for the year for the Fulcher Foundation, which is related to MS. That duck race will be on 10/15. Got a couple of great prizes there, so make sure you buy your donation for your duck. Tom's really looking forward to announcing that duck race on 10/15, so we're looking forward to that. But other than that, that's all I have from a charity update. And again, just appreciate everyone's efforts and continued support for us. It's awesome.
And I think we wanted to make a special announcement tonight, but we're going to kind of hold off another day or two. Everybody that's viewing right now, expect to see something at some point this week. A pretty big announcement on charity stuff. So we're putting some stuff together on that. So we'll tease that a little. You'll see something in the next couple, 2 or 3 days on that. So it's fun. It's fun to use this platform and help others, man. And it's been fun to do that. So sorry, we appreciate it, buddy. Thanks again, man. Thanks, man. Get better, brother. Get some sleep, recover, bud.
All right. Thank you, guys. See you.
All right, Anthony.
Bye. All right, Tom, you want to go ahead and announce our guest for tonight?
Our next guest covers the Bengals. We got to meet him in Bengal Nation a bit stronger earlier in the year when we met the star of the family, his son, the youngest Joe Burrow fan ever to be on national media. But it is our pleasure to welcome back and talk Bengals, Grayson Hodges. Grayson, welcome back to Bengal Jim and Friends.
Hey, guys. How are you doing?
What's going on, buddy? Is
Good.
little one in bed right now or what?
Yeah, it's past his bedtime, so I guess you're stuck with me tonight, unfortunately for you all, but it's time for bed.
Well, I'm sure if he was with us, he'd be fired up, at least from a statistical standpoint, that Joe Burrow is off to the best start of his career. And he would also be able to tell us, because he's too smart to be part of the national media, and he actually focuses and studies on the Bengals. So what's your thoughts on your son's favorite player to start to the year?
I mean, man, you really couldn't ask for – I mean, besides week 1, that is what it is. But besides that, you can't really ask for much more from Joe, considering how his previous few years have really started in Cincinnati. It seems like we're always kind of behind the 8 ball starting off the beginning of the season. So that performance on Sunday against the Panthers, and even the one before that, you can just tell he was firing on all cylinders, and the offense is really starting to click early, which is a good sign, leading into these divisional games coming up here soon. And things are pointing up for the offense for sure, which is a welcome sight. Usually it takes, a few weeks to get going, and it seems like they've kind of fixed that besides the week one thing for the most part. So things are looking up for Joe and the offense for sure.
Got it. Hey, so as you guys are viewing right now, Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, make sure you type in as many questions as you can. We'll try to get to those for Grayson. I'm sorry, Tom. Go ahead, bud.
No, it's just I didn't know if you wanted to, but I'll follow up with that. Part of his success, I think, has been not only his best start, but the best protection he's ever received, certainly to start a year, and hopefully we can keep everybody healthy and that can continue. I mean, if you'd told me Joe's numbers would be as they are and the protection he was getting is the protection he is getting, I'd say we'd be 3-1 or 4-0 going in and play the Ratbirds. So do you think from all the pieces you're seeing, and maybe a few guys that have stepped up we didn't expect on offense, that this trend is just going to continue, and until we fix the defense, maybe we can find a way to score 40 a week and win?
And that might be what it takes from here on out. I don't know. Hopefully get some of these guys back on the defensive line from injury, and that helps solve the problem a little bit. But, like you said, there's been a lot of contributors on offense that maybe weren't top of the list coming into the season. Amarius Mims is one that stands out for sure. His performance on Sunday was terrific. I saw maybe one or two times he got beat, which you'll take that against Jadeveon Clowney, who's an all-pro NFL edge rusher. So for his first start, I thought he performed really well. And then on the other side of that, Orlando Brown has been outstanding this year. It seemed like last year maybe that injury was a bigger deal than we maybe heard or thought on the outside. That kind of affected his play towards the end of the season. But I saw a graphic even today on Twitter of how dominant he's been in the passing game. That's obviously helped Joe tremendously in the offense succeed. The other guy, actually two more guys that stand out to me. One is Eric All. Eric All has been just an absolute dog on the offensive side of the ball. When I was watching film the other day after the game, the amount of 12 personnel that the Bengals have been in with two tight ends, with Eric All usually leading the way on a run play or dipping out from play action pass to the flat of the coverage. He's been terrific, and I think the Bengals, don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves here, but that 4th round pick is going to look real nice here in a couple of years as he keeps progressing. And we know that tight ends can take a second to get their foot, in the door in the NFL and get to that high level. But Eric All seems like he's trending in the right direction. Reminds me a lot of George Kittle. I know the Iowa connection is there, even though he finished at Michigan. But just kind of a nasty run blocker, always high energy, high motor. And the passing game has been terrific as well. It's all you can ask for from a 4th round rookie tight end. And then one other guy that really stood out to me too is just this last week was Chase Brown. It seemed like he was running with a strong purpose this past Sunday. I think it's been documented too a little bit. This past Sunday, he had a few more runs that were not just scripted for him specifically. He's had some inside runs, some inside zone, some duo runs that really you hadn't seen a lot from him. He had done it in college at Illinois. But with the Bengals, he hadn't done much of that at all. And it really looked like he was kind of pacing that Bengals offense, especially in the second half when we had the lead and we're kind of killing some clock. He looked like he was legit, and that's exciting for his future as well.
Yeah, great. Grayson, let's stick with the running back spot. I mean, Chase Brown, his average is like, 6+ yards a carry right now? It just feels like every time he touches the ball, this guy could break one. I mean, he has some opportunities to break it. And I can't forget Zach Moss, man. This guy is one hell of a blitz pickup. I mean, he's been doing a hell of a job back. I think that combo, we haven't seen the best of these two yet, but man, I got a feeling if these two stay healthy, that's a good combo in the backfield.
You're exactly right. I mean, Zach Moss, his pass blocking has been outstanding. I'm a big PFF guy. I was looking at the stats earlier this morning, and he's the second best pass blocking player on the Bengals right now, offensive line included. There was one replay going around this afternoon and yesterday of him picking up a stunt on the interior defensive line where he just straight stood up at defensive tackle, come around on the inside, which, I mean, as Bengals fans, we haven't seen a lot of that the last couple of years, so that was a welcome sight. And then his run game is very consistent. I don't think he's going to, he might make a splash play here and there in the run game, but you know exactly what you're going to get from him. He doesn't really make mistakes in that regard. It's someone you can trust, and I assume Joe would really trust him in the pass game, and then, he can get the job done in the run game as well. Right. But like you said, that duo is fantastic so far.
Yeah, I agree. I think I agree 100% with you, Grayson. Eric Hall, they seem to be slowly working in every week, getting him more plays, getting him more touches. And that was a big question, when cut day came. Man, they're keeping 5 tight ends. Obviously, they know what they have there. We still have Tanner McLaughlin waiting in the wings and the running backs. I don't know. I'm one of those people. Running backs are a dime a dozen in the NFL, but, we got a great 1-2 punch. And, kind of another thing you guys talked about, the time that Joe Burrow had on Sunday. I mean, he was just the most I can remember since he's been here. So that was great to see. And
no sacks, right?
No sacks, 100%.
Yeah, it's a welcome sight for sure.
If you have a question, put that in the chat. We're going to switch to the defensive side of the ball. It's bound to come up, and that was the play of the last 3 weeks of Cam Taylor-Britt. We saw the super interception in Kansas City, just a exceptional play. Saw some trash talking in the media the weeks leading up to it, and unfortunately got beat a couple times, and last week was no different in Carolina. Being at the game, I couldn't tell what they said on the broadcast. Obviously, we saw DJ Turner come in, play that defensive cornerback spot, in a spot where we thought, maybe Dax Hill was going to be that third corner, where he seems to be the steady part on the opposite side. And now it's a battle with DJ Turner and CTB for that opposite side. Tell us your thoughts on that, Grayson.
Yeah, the Cam Taylor-Britt thing is interesting. Last year, towards the end of last year, and really the first couple of games this year, he'd been really solid for the defense. One of the bright spots amongst the group. But everyone saw on Sunday what happened, and I think eventually he got pulled for a couple series, it looked like, and came back in maybe towards the end of the game on some nickel sets maybe. But hopefully you can chalk it up to just maybe having an off day. Deontay Johnson, the Carolina receiver, he's had a great season so far, and he seems like he had Cam's number for whatever reason. And part of that too is Cam's not going to be the quickest guy in the secondary. He's not the same level of speed as someone like DJ Turner, for example. He's more physical corner, which in the AFC North you like, right? That might show up well this week against Baltimore. But for whatever reason, they had his number. It seemed like Andy Dalton was picking on him for whatever reason. Hopefully we can just chalk it up to one bad week. And with the mentality that he's shown over his couple of seasons here in Cincinnati, I have no doubts that he'll bounce back to true form and be solid the rest of the season.
I didn't interrupt you. I got a feeling I think he's looking forward to this week after the Charlotte game.
I think so too. I think I can see a couple of splash plays coming from him, especially in the run game. Coming down to get Derrick Henry behind the line of scrimmage. Don't be surprised if that happens. Like you said, I think he'll be playing with his head on fire for sure this coming Sunday.
Yeah.
I know after the game. Good. Good, Joe.
No, you're good. You're good, Tom. My bad. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Let's
after
talk
the game.
My bad, Tom. Let's talk about the defensive line real quick. We got a little delay. Got a little delay going on here. What's the time frames on the Murphy and Rankins and BJ and these guys? And you had Sam Hubbard playing over the nose. You had him playing interior, which he hasn't done. So let's talk about Murphy and Rankins and BJ. And I know we got to get these guys back sooner than later. They're going to come back, but sooner.
Yeah, they got to come back soon. Right now it's just abysmal. It's hard to watch, honestly. And it happens to every team, but injuries have done this team no favors in that regard. With Murphy being hurt in training camp, and then the Hill and Rankins injuries seemingly happened 10, 15 minutes apart in that game. And then even like Sam Hubbard, he's come out, it's been reported that he's not even 100% right now, and he's having to fill a huge gap on the interior and on the edge because we've had struggles there as well. And it seems like Trey Hendrickson's the only one that can get anything done on the defensive front. And, hopefully he's all right with that stinger that he suffered towards the end of the game on Sunday. It seemed like he might be good to go, but that's something you don't want to mess around with either. So, with Murphy, it sounds like they're going to maybe test him even tomorrow when they get back to the facility and see what's going on. Hopefully, all signs are pointing up for him to be activated and come back for Sunday. Which would be a blessing for sure. Towards the end of last season, he had some good splash plays. It seemed like he was maybe trending in the right direction. And right now, that would be a welcome sight for sure. It seems like BJ Hill and Rankins, I don't know about their status for Sunday. BJ Hill maybe seems more likely than Rankins for whatever reason. I was kind of surprised that neither of them were the 4-week IR candidates after the injury that they both suffered, just because it seems a little more severe maybe than we initially thought. But hopefully those guys can get back quickly, and like you said, it's very much needed. I think one other guy that we're kind of forgetting about is McKinley Jackson, the draft pick from this season. Haven't seen a lot of him because he got hurt in training camp, but he was the guy that was going to fill the DJ Reader role. That was seemingly their plan from the front office, and for better or for worse, we'll find out soon. But he's going to be a guy that they're going to rely on heavily here in the near future. So hopefully he can get back to being healthy and start help dominating that defensive front, because like you guys know, the AFC North is just a gauntlet for running. The run game and the defensive line's vital to success in that, and that's part of the reason why we've been unsuccessful the last couple of seasons in the North. It's just teams are running down our throats, and we're having a hard time stopping them right now.
Tom, I'm sorry. Go ahead, bud.
That's great. No, just getting back to Cam Taylor-Britt, evidently right after the game, he hugged Lou Anarumo and looked at him and said, "That will never happen again." So yeah, I think you're right, Jimmy. He is hungry for Sunday. Now, the good with that bad though was that we saw DJ Turner, who I thought last year was playing pretty well for a rookie corner in this league, until he kind of hit that rookie wall in December. And then when the wheels fell off, they fell off in an ugly fashion. But he's back. He's fresh. He's fast. And he played very well. So not only do we have some talent, we've got talent playing pretty well, and we get Cam going. Hopefully the backfield can be very solid. But a question for you, Grayson. Our friend James sent me something today that Zach Carter, you were mentioning the defensive line. Zach Carter has a, let me do the math, 0 win rate on the defensive line thus far. Now, that's about as good as Jimmy can do. Is he not just a replaceable candidate? Is he a cut candidate? I mean, 0%. We're getting no production defending the run from the defensive line, but they're balancing it out by not getting any push on the pass rush.
Yeah, unfortunately for Zach Carter, last year didn't bode too well for his future, and it kind of led into this year as well. And like you said, he's been, I don't want to call anyone miserable, but it's been hard to watch from his point of view on the defensive line. That 0% win rate, it's hard to live with that for sure. And unfortunately for the Bengals is at this point, they're looking for warm bodies to fill those spots with all these injuries they're having. And at least Zach, he knows the system by now. Hopefully he has Lou Anarumo's trust in some regard to fill some gaps and fill some holes. I'm not sure if he does. But at this point, I don't think he's a cut candidate, but I think as soon as these other guys get healthy, his playing time's going to go way, way, way down. But hopefully Zach I still have confidence in all our guys. Hopefully he can bounce back. Maybe it's just something small that he's missing out on, but it hasn't been pretty for him so far in Cincinnati for sure.
Since week one, Grayson, there's been an all-points bulletin issued in Cincinnati for our third-round draft pick from last year out of Alabama. We brought in Von Bell this offseason, the veteran he thought maybe would replace some leadership that DJ Reader brought to the defensive side. Von Bell, had an interception. He looked like a center fielder just waiting for a can of corn to drop in his arms on Sunday. Kudos to him for being there. As you know, we brought in Geno Stone in the offseason. But from what we saw with Jordan Battle and going back to this all-points bulletin, we've seen him a couple of glimpses on special teams. We've seen more to John Anthony. Can you tell us what we don't know and why Jordan Battle's not playing?
Man, I wish I could. I really wish I could. I don't know at this point. Me and my brother were talking the other day, and it seems like he's maybe just in the doghouse for some reason. Who knows how that went over or what actually happened. Even I think Lou was either at a press conference or he was asked about Jordan Battle the other day, and he basically said he came into training camp kind of slow. And it's kind of picking up his speed slowly but surely. But, part of that from the outside maybe is an effect from the Von Bell acquisition. I feel like he kind of fell into their lap this offseason. Obviously, that wasn't part of the plan because he was under contract with Carolina. Then he got cut, and it was like, hey, we can bring back this guy who was a vital role in the Super Bowl run with Jesse Bates by his side. So maybe that had to ruffle some feathers with Jordan Battle. I'm not sure. But, at the end of the day, these guys are professionals, and that kind of stuff does happen. So hopefully he can learn from that if that is the issue and bounce back. Because even in the preseason against the Colts, he had that pick six, and it's like, man, Jordan Battle is ready to go this season. It seems like he's firing away. And then for whatever reason, he's just not getting that playing time in the games that actually matter. And I don't have to beat a dead horse here, but, that the safeties have been it's hard to watch too, along with the defensive line. I mean, everyone's accountable for that. But Geno Stone, one of the highlight acquisitions from this offseason, hasn't really done a lot, seemingly. Even like yesterday or Sunday against the Panthers, seemed like he missed a few tackles and was indecisive in his run defense and getting beat over the top a few times in this free safety role. So, hopefully, Lou said that, the communication was the big thing for the secondary coming into the season. And seemingly, I haven't seen many broken plays from the defense. But, man, those safeties are not coming down to fill their role very well right now, and they need some help. And they have those young guys waiting. Dejon Anthony had that great breakup on the fake punt on Sunday, which I think was a very underrated play because at that point it was 28-14. Carolina had been moving the ball a little bit, and it kind of killed all their momentum. And, if he was not there to make that play, who knows what happens. We don't want to think about that right now, but I think it's time to use those young guys. A team like the Chiefs, who we all love to talk about, they use their young guys on defense. And, a couple years ago they had like Brian Cook out of the University of Cincinnati. He was a rookie, and he ended up, he had his struggles at the beginning, but they fought through them, and they were able to, he's been a great player for them in the secondary. And sometimes you just got to trust your young guys. You drafted them for a reason. Let them fly. Let them go at it and see what they can do.
Well, let's talk about, it was a great win. You got to get that first win, man. I know that to get that off their backs there. And I know, again, offense played great, defense played well enough. I think there's obviously some still things they got to fix there. But let's talk about Sunday against the Ratbirds. Now, obviously, everybody's talking about this. Their defense is damn good already. If our offense is clicking on all cylinders like it seems to be, what do we got to do to stop Derrick Henry, man? Because, his first play this past week, Sunday night game, set the tone for the whole damn game against the Buffalo Bills, and they routed the Bills at home. So, what do we have to do here to win this game? And obviously, it's stop the run, but
right.
How do we stop it? How do we stop Derrick Henry?
Man, right now with our defensive line situation, you just got to get ahead early. You got to trust Joe in the offense to be clicking from drive number one, snap number one, and get a lead. One of the best ways to get the run game is to get a lead and make the Ravens play from behind, and ultimately make Lamar make the passes to beat you, is my opinion. He's shown that he can in some situations. In other situations, he's shown that he's not capable of doing that. And they rely obviously very heavily on the run game, the option game, and Lamar is definitely a threat to run the ball as well. But generally, the Bengals, when they played Derrick Henry when he was with the Titans, they've done a decent job of containing him. You think back to that playoff game a couple years ago in Nashville, and they did a pretty good job of containing him for the most part. But you can't come into Sunday and have that first play go for 87 yards to the house like the Bills had it happen to them the other night. And it's going to be tough to stop him if they get going and they get a lead. That clock starts draining out. Joe gets limited snaps, and then it goes downhill from there. So they got to get a lead and stay ahead, and make the Ravens pass the ball to beat them. Yeah.
Well, you know what, Grayson, that's a hell of an answer, but really, at least has a better answer than you. Really, just lock his ass in the locker room Sunday. Problem solved.
That would work too. That would be very welcomed. Just put him away. We don't need to see him.
The Ravens certainly looked on fire beating an undefeated Bills team on Sunday night, but they have two losses, including a bad loss to the Raiders, second game of the year. What did they change from the week one loss to Kansas City, week two loss at the Raiders to kind of become the team that we thought they were?
With Henry being a new acquisition to their team, I think he finally got kind of settled in some ways. I think they kind of found their identity, which obviously was the run game for them. But they get that lead early against Buffalo and against the Cowboys too, and they start running the ball. And that Derrick Henry's a beast at running back, and it's hard to bring him down. He's taxing, and he wears down the linebackers and the safeties. And then those guys start making business decisions, and then it goes downhill from there. But one thing that stood out to me from the Ravens, this is not just true this season, but even in years past under John Harbaugh, is their lack of ability to close a game, which is interesting with their run game. You would think that would kind of go hand in hand. But if the Bengals can stay in the game, the first half, and we're heading to the third quarter and it's still a close game, I feel pretty confident about their ability to close it out. But if you get behind the 8 ball early, this might be a long day for Lou and that defense. It could be ugly.
Tom?
Switching to something else that has been a bit unexpected. He was here last year, but you alluded a little bit to Chase Brown. I'd like to see him. Some of those times that we're running Moss on a sweep, I kind of wish he was in the game trying to get to the edge. But going forward, do you see him even a bigger part of the offense? And what is your take on a undrafted free agent who we didn't even sign as an undrafted free agent, Ryan Reckhow? Now, the true punt god from BYU.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. I'll start with the punter first, just because there's some news today surrounding Brad Robbins. But he's been unbelievable. I mean, holy cow! How long have we been waiting for that to come back to Cincinnati? Since Kevin Huber left, I guess. Yeah. But he's been tremendous. I mean, hopefully he can keep with it, and hopefully we don't have to use him a whole lot moving forward. That'd be the ideal situation with Joe in the offense. But he's been tremendous. I think I forget the number, but that one of the first punts he had was like an 80-something yard punt, ended up being a touchback, and you're like, holy cow, where has this been? And he's been tremendous. And unfortunately for Brad Robbins, things didn't work out in Cincinnati. You hate to see that for him, just as a person. And these guys, they're all human beings. They all have lives outside of football, and that can't be a good thing to go through. So hopefully he lands on his feet, finds another team, and can bounce back. Because he definitely has the ability to do so. It just wasn't the case in Cincinnati. But I think the other thing you said too was the dynamic between Chase Brown and Zach Moss. And I think that Chase Brown has earned his snaps, and I would be surprised if his snap count doesn't keep trending upward the next couple of weeks. Part of that too, I think, from this past weekend was the Bengals had a lead early, so they are able to do some more abstract things on offense, which included a lot of those sweeps you're talking about with Chase Brown. Well, the one thing you don't want to see happen is when they get behind in the game, and then Zach Moss comes in to just pass protect. Because Chase Brown has shown that he's not the best at that. But moving forward, if they can keep their pedal to the metal and keep that lead early, I don't see any reason why Chase Brown cannot be even more impactful player moving forward. Even greater than that 50-50 split we kind of heard about from the coaches. I think he might be a 60-40 guy just because his dynamic ability. It's something we've been looking for a long time. Even with Joe Mixon, he's a solid runner, and I love Joe Mixon as much as the next guy. But his ability to break a long one just didn't seem to happen that often. Yeah. So Chase Brown, he provides that ability. It seems like every time he takes that sweeper on the outside, he's one guy away from breaking it to the house. My dad actually called him Lightning McQueen the other night. It just seemed like he's getting ready to fly every time he takes the ball. So hopefully he gets some more snaps here. And the creativity that we've seen on offense bodes well for him, I think, just using him different packages, different personnel, different run schemes. But yeah, he looks like he's definitely trending in the right direction.
Yeah. Before we get to a couple of viewer questions, sir, I got to just make a comment. I don't remember the last time I've seen a Bengals team take a drive to kill the clock. They ran the ball. I don't think they passed one time in that last drive of the game, and that's a big deal. If we can do that and control the clock, man, that's a really big deal.
Yeah, that last drive you're referring to, it looked like they were in a lot of 13 personnel too. They had 2 tight ends and an extra tackle, which is basically 13 personnel. But they were just here it is, we're running the ball. Good luck stopping us, and like you said, they got the job done. So that was good to see.
Yep.
Viewer question, Grayson. I'm going to make this kind of 2 parts. I believe it was Charlie Jones. We got 3rd or 4th round, and Yoshivas in the 6th. I'm going to pretend we got Yoshivas where we got Charlie Jones and Charlie Jones later, because Yoshivas seems to do everything asked of him. That big hit he took And Carolina just at the end of the second quarter there stayed on the field. I think Panthers or whatever ended up calling a timeout, but he's done great. But in the punt return and even on the kickoffs, we've seen Chase Brown and Travion Williams back there. What's your thoughts on Burton back there? Burton, we've seen splashes of brilliance, maybe struggling a little bit with the playbook, but an opportunity to get a playmaker on the field, make some plays, and maybe replace Charlie Jones, who's, I don't want to say, we had a punt return touchdown last year. I believe he did have a fumble week 1. But what's your thoughts on getting Burton back there returning punts?
I would love to see that personally. I feel like every time Chuck Sizzle's back there to return a punt, I kind of hold my breath, honestly. And that's the last thing you want with a punt returner. You want someone you can trust, ultimately. Even when Irwin was doing a lot of punt returns last year, you felt like you could trust him. He was never going to break one all the way. But you felt like a guy maybe you could at least call a fair catch when he needed to and make the right decision. But with Charlie Jones, it seems like, man, it's like a roll of the dice every time he gets back there. So with that in mind, I mean, is Jermaine Burton, even if he's the same way, he provides that much more explosiveness than Charlie Jones. So personally, I'd love to see it. Like you said, it'd be a great way to get him the ball because on offense, for whatever reason, it seems like he's just not there yet. Whether that's a playbook thing or Joe's trust or whatever. But you get him in the special teams games, see what he can do. I mean, honestly, I'd like to see him even at kick returner too, next to Chase Brown back there.
Yeah.
And maybe drop Travion Williams out to a different spot. Just because similar reason, you can trust Travion. He's obviously had the coach's trust for a few years now, but he's not going to be the one that breaks one to the house. And it's always fun to see the kick return, the punt returns go the distance, especially when it's for your team. And those guys like Chase Brown, Jermaine Burton, those are the guys who can do it. So, why not, honestly? You have this guy. You drafted him high. We all saw Zach Taylor's reaction to the draft pick in April when they drafted Jermaine Burton. They obviously like him. They like what he brings to the table. And if a punt return job is the best way to get his foot in the door to a game that actually matters, then that needs to be what it is. That needs to happen. But yeah, I would love to see more of Jermaine Burton. I mean, he has what it takes. He was a great receiver at Alabama and at Georgia in his college days, and hopefully he can figure things out here pretty soon.
Agreed. Tom?
What do you see if you're in the offensive and defensive meetings Wednesday and Thursday? What do you tell the guys? What's the recipe to beat the Ratbirds?
Offensively, you got to keep doing what you've been doing, right? I've been loving that 12 personnel they've been kind of resting in. I think last week was the highest percentage of 12 personnel they ran in the Zach Taylor era. I think I might be wrong on this, but I think it might have been the highest in the NFL in week 4. Just 12 personnel. That seems to be working with the Eric All, Drew Sample combo. I charted yesterday that they had 14 runs and 10 passes and 12 personnel when Eric All was on the field. So you're keeping defenses on their toes. It's a pretty even split. And then obviously you have the dynamic playmakers on the outside with T and Jamar and soon to be Jermaine Burton and Yoshi, like you said earlier. He's been a great addition to this offense. That catch over the middle on Sunday and that cover 2 shell, I mean, that was tremendous. The ball placement was unreal from Joe, but then the catch, to be able to hold on to that and take the hit, and then the recognition to stay on your feet, not take the injury timeout with a 10-second runoff, get back to the line and spike it. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that coaching staffs love, and that's the kind of stuff that gives you more playing time. So just keep doing what they've been doing. Involve Chase Brown in the run game. Zach Moss is consistent in the run game. And then I'd love to see more action to Eric All and Jermaine Burton personally, but you have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins for a reason too. You got to use those guys more often than not. But on the defensive side, got to get their stuff together. It's time's ticking right now, and I don't think Lou's on the hot seat per se, but ultimately, if this keeps happening, someone's gonna fall on the sword, and I don't want to see that happen. I'm not calling for that by any means. I think he's been a great asset to this Bengals team over the last couple of years, but someone's got to step up and make something happen. And maybe that's Jordan Battle coming in and laying the stick on a few guys from the secondary position. One guy I keep thinking of is Jermaine Pratt. He has that captain badge this year. Now maybe he's more of a leader inside of the locker room, but I'd love to see him, get after some guys in the defense, and he might do that. We might not just see it on TV or whatever, but he seems like he's the guy that might be able to hold the defense accountable. especially with the departure of DJ Reader, which was just a tremendous loss. Honestly, it's sad to see that he ended up in Detroit, but someone's got to step up. And I think it's interesting too. Joe referred to it a couple against the Commanders, being more of a vocal leader. And I think someone on defense has got to step up and you got to be the guy. You got to have that dominant force on defense. And right now they're lacking it.
Grayson, talk a little bit about. We've seen a little bit of a flash here just recently. Chris Jenkins has been, got hurt early and got in. He looked a little better this past week. I mean, we need more than Chris in there. We need a kind of a good rotation in the middle of that defense. But Chris didn't look too bad as a rookie here.
No, excuse me. He looked great. All you can ask for a rookie playing his second NFL game with a club on his right hand. Personally, that first drive, Carolina was driving down the field. They got to the goal line situation, and Chris Jenkins was the guy that blew up that fourth down play. Without him, that Carolina scores in that first drive, and we might be looking at a repeat of the Commanders game. Unfortunately, it seemed like the Panthers were clicking on offense, and Chris Jenkins blew that play up. And you don't want to talk about what ifs or what could have happened, but he was the guy that made that stop, and they need that. Someone's got to step up, like I said, and seemingly he can be the guy that does it. His pass rush still needs some work, obviously, but his run defense is where they're really struggling, and that's where he seemingly fills the void that they're missing. But man, like I said earlier, this draft class is paying huge dividends already, and hopefully they continue to mix those guys in and get them more reps. There's no reason why Chris Jenkins should be getting outsnapped by Zach Carter and Jay Tufele this weekend against Baltimore. He should be, he should play in 60 to 70% of the snaps for sure.
Got it. James, anything else in the chat? I know we got a lot of repeat questions in there, but anything else you see you want to throw in there?
Appreciate Grayson's time. I think he's covered them, and as always, we appreciate everyone's feedback in the chat. I think we covered most of them for sure.
Yeah, Grayson, we appreciate you being with us, buddy. And you when you getting up for another game here anytime soon, or?
I need to soon. I'm heavily considering that Nashville game. It's close to home for me down here in Tennessee, and with the tailgate going on, I feel like that might be a winner. So maybe I'll catch you guys there in Nashville to whip up on the Titans and former coach Brian Callahan.
Absolutely, brother. We'll talk way before that one, man. But we appreciate you being on with us tonight. It means a lot, and thanks for providing some great insight, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Anytime.
Thanks, Grayson. Appreciate it.
Good day, Grayson. Thank you.
Good dude, man. Good dude. James, you hit it. He covered everything, A to Z there.
Yeah, we covered all. We obviously offense, defense, two facets of the game, but that special teams can be huge for us. I think Evan, we got back on track, made a couple of nice long field goals on Sunday. We talked about the punter. I mean, he's got the leg for days, and if we can do something offensively, was it the start of the second half there when we had the end of the second quarter when we had that long run, I think back to 35, 40-yard line, which kind of propelled that last touchdown with I think there was a minute 8 on the clock. There wasn't much. So that special teams can be such a game changer, especially maybe when you have a struggling defense like we have. So kudos to Darren Simmons. He's the special teams wizard, and if he can keep working magic with what we have, that's going to be an important part for us to be successful here. 5 on.
It is funny. We got Lisa volunteering Mark to play interior defensive line. Carrie, I know Carrie could probably play in the secondary. She's ready to go. Got a bunch of other people in here, so they're ready to play. So we got depth now on the team with some of the volunteers right here. So
let's see if McKinley Jackson can come back before we.
It's a big deal. That's a really big. That's one name I didn't write down for whatever reason. Murphy, Rankins, and BJ are the ones just off the top of my head. But I think in Murphy, because we need a pass rush on that left side. We need to get some pass rush going on there. BJ and Rankins are really big deals not being in that lineup too. So.
No, and I think it's a good point, and it was touched on by Grayson, and I think you guys. What we've seen thus far from last year's draft class has been great. Whether it's been Mims coming in at right tackle, Chris Jenkins I think has a bright future. Jermaine Burton, undrafted free agent punter, Dejan Anthony, McKinley Jackson hopefully get on the field. So kudos. I like what we're seeing. Let's get these young guys in there, especially on the defensive side, which is our weak spot. It's no secret, and they're going to be put to the test Sunday against Baltimore.
Yeah, let's. I think CBS just called, guys. The vice president debate is getting ready to kick off here in a few minutes. They want viewers to watch that, so I think we're taking a lot of viewers from. So we'll get off here just a second. We're going to get off early, but Tom, let's go ahead and close this out, man, and kind of start with you if it's okay, man.
The Ratbirds probably playing the best football in the NFL right now. They might be the best football team on the planet. And even though their record's 2-2, they might be playing better than Kansas City. I got to say this. I respect them a ton. I respect how the organization is run, how they draft, how they get talent. I don't like them. I don't like their players. I don't like their fans. I really loathe their coach. So, guys, let's turn it up and let's win this one. Let's get right back in the thick of things. Let the rest of the league know you are going to be hurt all the way till February. This is the game to do it. It is not going to be easy. We're the underdog, and that's deserved. Like I said, the Ravens are playing lights out. So, they've got to have their best game together with whoever we have. And I'll be anxious to watch tomorrow and Thursday to see if anybody on the defense is activated.
Yeah,
but, I'm glad everybody got back safely from Charlotte. And let's be loud and ready to go Sunday. James?
100%. Thanks again to everybody that was in Charlotte. What a fun tailgate. Close proximity to Bank of America Stadium, whatever it is. Just so much fun. Just so many people pitched in to make that a huge success. And thank you to that. One thing we didn't touch on is the amount of Bengals fans that were in the stadium. I mean, I think everywhere you turn, Bengals fans, I think some people that watched it on TV, and I think Zach Taylor even alluded to it in his press conference when T had one of the many catches there in that first quarter, that chant of T like we talked about and how loud it was in the stadium. So as always, kudos to the Bengals fans for traveling well and being loud in the stadium on Sunday. Looking forward to be back at Paycor this week. As we're often asked, we get so many DMs of, do I need a ticket for the home tailgate? You do not. Come to the southeast corner of Paycor Stadium. See us in Lot E and come over and have some fun with us. So the chat is blowing up with the death of the other legend in Cincinnati, Jimmy. I know you have a graphic for it, so I'm going to.
I was going to close out with
touch on that and end the show.
Yeah. Yep. A couple things. We'll end on that one, but just prayers. Tony got up on stage at the tailgates Sunday and did a hell of a job just talking about, don't forget the people in the Carolinas, Florida, Georgia, all the stuff that happened. There were Bengal fans that got stuck in Asheville and in different areas and didn't have reception. Their families were trying to get a hold of them. They were obviously thinking worst case situation there, but wound up everybody being okay. But a lot of people, a lot of deaths, a lot of people still missing in the Carolinas. Make sure you keep them in your prayers. Tony talked about not just that, but the linemen. Tony is a lineman, been for many, many years. As Trish and I were heading home yesterday from Charlotte, there were countless amount of not Duke Energy, but similar business, that were going down towards the Carolinas. I mean, I'm not kidding, guys. Over 100 that we count. We lost track of them. There were so many going towards the Carolinas to help restore electricity. And I saw videos today of these guys restoring, trying to get these lines back up and electric back up for folks. So keep not just the folks in the Carolinas in your prayers and, Florida and Georgia, wherever everybody was affected, but the people down there trying to get things back up and running again. Pretty unbelievable situation. So everybody keep those in your prayers. And we're going to end on a moment of silence, guys. A Cincinnati legend passed away yesterday at 83 years old. I remember when I was little, when I played football, I was always Ken Anderson on offense. When I played Nerf football when I was little, and I was Ken Riley on defense. And when I played baseball, I was always Pete Rose and switch hitting Pete Rose. So Pete Rose passed away yesterday, and we'll end the show on a minute of silence here, guys. And just think about the folks in the Carolinas, Florida, Georgia, all the linemen going down, everybody down there, and as well as Pete Rose and his family.